Hey, this is René, welcome back for another video on this channel, and today I want to review an expert advisor in the MQL5 market. It is the Swing Master Expert Advisor and it is currently selling for $999 USD. The question is this expert advisor worth it? So in this video, I will try to figure out how this expert advisor works. I will do tests and give you my opinion on this. Are these tests realistic? And also, I want to give you my forecast or my idea on how this expert advisor will behave or perform in the future. So if you are interested in this specific expert advisor or swing trading expert advisors in general, or you just want to know how your trading can become even better and you want to learn, then this is the perfect video for you. So let's have a look at the Swing Master Expert Advisor in the MQL5 market. So I said this is currently ranked number 2 in the MQL5 market, and we do have a sales page. Of course, we can see here the Swing Master EA. It is a relatively new expert advisor. It's just out there for a little bit more than 1 month, close to 2 months now, I would say. And we can see here it is selling for $999 USD. The question is this expert advisor worth it? But first, let's have a look at the description here. In general, the seller says that this expert advisor is pretty much a conservative expert advisor. It's not using martingale, it's not using grid. And this is what I really like, because usually in the MQL5 market, a lot of the expert advisors, they do use martingale and grid for obvious reasons. It makes them look better most of the time. And if a signal then crashes, they just delete the signal and set up a new one. With this expert advisor, this cannot really happen because we do not use martingale and grid. Also, we see a lot of recommended symbols, and this is a very important point that I will cover later in this video again, why he chose specifically these symbols. Then also, we can use this in pretty much any accounts. The amount of money in the account does not matter, the leverage does not matter. It's just important that the overall trading cost, of course, should be as low as possible, but this is always recommended. We do have 3 signals, and whenever we want to review a expert advisor in the MQL5 market, of course, we need to have a look at the signals. Also, we do get a step-by-step guide. I had a look at this before, but I want to explain you briefly what this step-by-step guide covers. So first of all, let's talk about the signals. We do see 3 signals. They do have slightly different settings, I think. And yeah, we can also see, which is very interesting, that these signals are unfortunately not around for a long time. So the longest signal here is around for 7 weeks. The other 2 are around for 3 and 4 weeks. What we can see here is that the performance is looking great. Like, we barely see any losing trades, and this is what we can also see in the history. We see a lot of small profits, and then here, for example, in this account, we do see 1 losing trade, which has a larger loss than the average profit. But since there are so many profits, this easily covers the 1 losing trade. Also, if we see a equity or balance in equity like this, here the balance is blue, the equity is green, we can clearly say that we do use a risk-reward ratio, which is of course small. So the TPs or the positions are closed with relatively small profits, and if there is a stop loss, it is in relation to the take profits a lot bigger. This is not good, this is not bad, it's just something you need to know, because this typically generates equities or balance and equity curves like this, where the balance is steadily going up. Sometimes you see a dip in the equity if there is a loss, and also why the equity is usually below the balance. It is because we most likely have a lot of open positions in this account all of the time that are negative, but because the stop loss is so distant, the positions are not closed and they do have the chance to recover. So let's briefly have a look at the other 2 signals. Here we can see a very similar picture, like the balance in equity. The equity is usually below the balance for this signal and also for this signal. So these accounts are barely in profit, and yeah, it's following the same concept. As I said, at this point, this is not like bad, it's just something you need to know to figure out how this EA works. So in general, like signals that are only around for a few days, or in this case less than 2 months. They are of course not super reliable, or they cannot really predict the future or long-term performance, because 2 months can also be a lucky punch, and we cannot really predict anything on the basis of a 2 months performance. But let's have a look at the information that the seller is providing here. He has some videos that explain how to use the expert advisor, which is great, and he is offering set files. We will have a look at this in a second in the strategy tester. Make sure to watch all of the videos, of course, before you purchase the expert advisor to learn more about this, but yeah, maybe just watch the videos. And then here, what else do we see? He says that the power of this expert advisor is of course the diversification, because we do trade up to 15 currencies, and this means that even though some currencies might be losing, others will win, and then we have a beautiful portfolio effect, and overall we should be profitable. That's what the seller here is saying. We also do have like a prop firm mode and stuff like that. And yeah, also we do see a very beautiful performance, but always be aware that this is of course a performance from the strategy tester. So it's like a theoretical performance. It's not what we have to see in the future. This chart is also interesting because he says there's a minimum correlation between different currency pairs. And if this is true, this is of course perfect, and it's what we want to see in a portfolio. But now the most interesting part, let's go to the MetaTrader and use this expert advisor. You can use any expert advisor from the MQL5 market in the strategy tester before purchasing. So this is what you should do before purchasing any expert advisor. Download the free demo and test it in the strategy tester to figure out if you like it. I also did this. If you want to learn how to do this, I will quickly show you. Go to View, Navigator. This will open the navigator. My navigator is already open. Then you go to expert advisors, and you should find market here, or you can just right click expert advisors and click buy from the market. Here you can either directly see the expert advisor you want to download, or you go here and search for Swing Master or whatever expert advisor you want to download. Then you click on it, and then you click on download demo. I did this already, so the button is not here anymore. But once you downloaded the demo, you can then go to view strategy tester, and when you open the strategy tester, you can use this tool to test the strategy you downloaded, in this case this swing trader expert advisor. Here I go to overview, visualize, because I first want to have a look at the visualized backtest of this expert advisor. We can then choose our symbol we want to test. Here I use my custom symbol for downloaded historical data, so I have a longer backtesting period to work with. Then the settings. Here, this is a first information for us to figure out how this expert advisor might work. We can see here we have some general settings. I think these are not super important. We just have like an order comment, a spread filter, a slippage filter, even though I don't really know how this works in MetaTrader 5, because I think it's not really possible to prevent slippage. And then we have a magic number. We do have the money management settings. Here we can work with fixed lots or auto lots. I think auto lots will just increase as the balance in your account goes up. This is a typical mechanism that many expert advisors use. We do have different calculation modes here. I think if we go up with a number, it will just be more aggressive. Then we have a smart sigma close, and I will explain in a second what this means. We don't have a take profit with recommended settings, and we do have a stop loss. I assume this is in points. Then we do use a bunch of indicators, and I'm kind of happy that the seller is talking honestly about the indicators he uses. This usually means that he's not talking like some BS like many sellers in the market do, that tell you that they use the new AI technology. This is a more based approach where we do use classical indicators, and I like that the seller is honest about it and describing parts of his strategy. This is what I always do for the programs that I sell, and I think it's just the best way to really promote your product, because the buyer should know what he is getting. So here we do use the ATR indicator, we do use the Bollinger Bands indicator for entries and exits. We do use a moving average, we do use a professional swing filter indicator. This is a custom indicator, and then we use the RSI. So you can see we pretty much just use a lot of different indicators, and this is interesting, but it's not really a good or bad thing. It's just something he does. We will see more how the strategy works once we do a visualized test. So basically in these chapters here, or in these inputs for the indicators, we just have the inputs for the indicators and maybe some more inputs, but I think for us it's most important that he's using these specific indicators. Then we do have some time filters which are not really used in the default settings, I think. So what I want to do now is I want to use EUR/USD for the test, and now I go right click and load, because if I go to the desktop, you will see I downloaded the Swing Master setting files already. These are the files that were provided here in the article on MQL5 by the seller, and I downloaded this set files package here with the which is the Swing Master Incubator signal that we had to look at before, which is alive for the longest period, like this 7-week signal. So if I go here in my MetaTrader, and here I can now search for EUR/USD and load this, and it will load all of the settings. I don't want to go through the different lines step by step, because this is what you can do at home alone, obviously. So now I want to do a visualized test and explain you a little bit how I think this strategy works. So first of all, we can see once we started the test, it will load all of these indicators. These are the indicators that we found before already in the settings. So we have this professional swing indicator. I will have problems to explain how this works because it's a custom indicator. I don't really know the exact algorithm, but we do have a lot of default or standard indicators, and here it's easy to explain. So what we do here is we can see that we do have Bollinger Bands, the Bollinger Bands indicator. Also we can see that it uses like 364 periods, which is quite a long bar history to calculate this indicator on. And then we use the ATR based on 6 bars, the RSI based on 14 bars, and the RSI based on 13 bars. So let's fast forward until we see the first signals. Also, we see here some more indicators are coming in. Or actually it's the same indicators, all the Bollinger Bands. He said that he's using a slightly modified Bollinger Bands indicator. Maybe that's why we see so many lines. But here we can see the first trade. And I was looking at this before, and I figured out that whenever we enter a buy position, the RSI is coming from the lower levels, but is already again close to the 50 value. Pretty much. So this means that we are coming from the lower values but going up to the more middle area of the RSI indicator. Also the ATR, what I figured out so far, usually when we enter a trade, the ATR was increasing slightly before we see the position opening. Also, what we can also learn from the inputs here, it is in the Bollinger Bands area. Here we can see there's a minimum required distance to the center of the Bollinger Bands for the entry. So all of this shows us, and this is also what the seller is describing in his article, that we are talking about a mean reversion strategy. Mean reversion strategies mean, or they usually work like this. Like you assume that the price level is always just working around a specific area. And if there is a move that is going too far away from this mean, from the middle price, then it will at some point get back to the middle price. So this is what we see. All of these indicators are pretty much used to figure out when the price is away from the middle price. And then we open a position, and once we see the position close, we will also learn how the positions are closed, because the positions are always closed with these settings at the middle Bollinger Bands, which is, by the way, just a moving average. So you can see here this buy position, it was open once the price was moving away from the middle price pretty much, and then it was closed when it reached this middle price again. And if we fast forward, we will see this for all of the following signals also. So here we have another buy trade, and we can see something similar as we saw before. If we have a look at this, we can see that the RSI is coming from the lower levels, but it's almost in the middle again here. Then also we can see that the ATR is increasing slightly. before we open this position, and then the position is closed at this middle band again. There was another trade, and here we should see the same pattern. RSI is increasing like from the lower values, but it's already up again a little bit. The ATR is here, I think it's also going up, but in the bar before it was not really going up, which is surprising me. Maybe there's just a minimum level required for the ATR. And then, yeah, usually the professional swing is in the upper values before we see a buy trade. There's another buy trade. I also want to see, oh yeah, actually this is interesting because this buy trade is not going into profit immediately. And here we can see the trades are not closed so quickly because we do have this stop loss of 2,500 points roughly, which means that the trades can really go negative for quite a while. And the idea is that we just wait, and it will either hit the stop loss or it will recover and hit the middle line of this Bollinger Bands. Or actually in this case, we don't just wait until we hit the middle line, but we wait until we go slightly profitable. So this is probably the algorithm that the expert advisor uses when the trade goes down a bit first before it goes up again, so we just prevent losing trades. And of course at some point we might also see losing trades, which we can see if we do long-term backtest, and I want to do this actually now. I hope I was able to explain a little bit how the strategy works. We just use a lot of different indicators to figure out if the price was moving away from the middle price, so to say, or the average price, and then we assume that the price will go back to mean, and then we close this trade. So now let's have a look at some long-term backtests. So I will just use the same settings here and now do the long-term backtest. So here we are. This is the finished backtest for Euro-US dollar for the last around 5 years with this strategy. And we can see this is actually kind of realistic, I would say. We do see winners, we do see losers. Overall, there's a profit, of course. Otherwise, you would not recommend this symbol with the settings he recommends. In the backtesting results, we can see the profit factor is actually quite good. And yeah, so this is looking pretty much just solid, kind of what we could have expected. Like we see like these small wins, the larger losses of course, and this is what we can then also see here, like high hit rate in general, but the average profit is of course a lot smaller than the average loss. So I could do this now for all of the other symbols he recommends, which like GBP/US dollar. For GBP/US dollar, I did it before I recorded this video, and we see a similar picture. The performance for GBP/US dollar is actually a lot better, but I assume if I would do this for all of the symbols, we would see that all of them will have like good periods, bad periods, but overall profitability. And this is like in my opinion, from my experience, it can be realistic. Like this is also what I see in the strategies that I trade in my portfolio. Like the strategies, they are not winning all of the time, but it's also not necessary. And this is what the seller is selling. Like the power is coming from the diversification. Like if you have a bunch of strategies that are profitable on their own and then you throw them together, then you will just increase the overall profitability of the portfolio. And you do have this portfolio effect where you can have bad performing strategies, but they are carried by the good performing strategies in this period. So this means that overall, from all of the expert advisors in the market that I tested so far and also uploaded to this YouTube channel, this is a expert advisor that is taking a more conservative and realistic approach. I like that the sales page is not really like too fancy, too shiny, and it is kind of honest, I would say. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit weird that he's talking about profits and stuff, because usually that's not what we should do on MQL5. But overall, I think this is a like realistic approach. I assume that, as I said before, coming back to the signals, because this is what most people just look at, I do not think that the signal will be as stable as it was here all of the time. But I do think that with this expert advisor, we do have a good chance that it can be profitable in the future also. So I would rate this definitely higher than all of the martingale grid or fake AI expert advisors in the market. Now we need to come back to, should you buy this expert advisor? If you like it, yes, of course. As I said, I do not think this is a scam. I don't think so at this point. I don't see any reasons why I would assume this. Of course, the price is always the question. If you think it is worth it, I think if you invest a little bit of time in learning how to code these strategies and maybe try to play around with these expert advisors yourself, you could probably create something similar also by yourself, and then it would be cheaper, of course. But if you do not want to invest the time and effort, then buying an expert advisor is an option. And yeah, it's not cheap, but if you are too lazy to learn, maybe that's a way for you. Also, I don't really like what we see here, like creating artificial demand because he says that it's a rare good, like he's increasing the price with the copies sold. This is usually a trick that pretty much all of the marketers do in the MQL5 market, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but this is pretty much just marketing strategy, I think. So if you like this little review, and maybe if you want me to create an expert advisor that is similar to this one, like using a lot of these oscillators and mean reversion indicators, and create a strategy like this with a relatively small TP and a distant SL in the symbols that are more or less, or that do not have the highest volatility, then leave a like to the video and also write a comment. Also, I owe you one explanation again, which I announced before. These 15 Forex pairs, a lot of Forex pairs, like for example, what I was surprised by that is that we do not see Forex pairs like, for example, USD Japanese yen. And this might be because USD Japanese yen in the past has been a very volatile pair. This is, for example, why I personally use USD Japanese yen with my range breakout expert advisor. But my range breakout expert advisor, it does something completely different than this expert advisor, because it is not a mean reversion expert advisor, but instead a breakout expert advisor. So here, instead of symbols that are good for breakout expert advisors, we do see a lot of symbols that are more or less sideways for long periods of time. And this is why they should theoretically be perfect for a strategy like this. So this is a little explanation why I think he chose these symbols. So this is pretty much it. These were my thoughts on this expert advisor. Now let me know your thoughts in the comment below, and make sure to subscribe to this video to not miss out any other videos. And that's basically it. Thanks for watching. Have a great time, good trades. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.